For any of the test cases that you might write in your local machine, you might have a situation in future where you will need to run this from different environments. Let's say from your development environment, or let's say from your production environment, or let's say from any of the other machines. But you might have a requirement where, let's say, you want some variables to be same across all the environments, or let's say from wherever you run from whichever machine you run this test that you might have written or that you might have coded, those will need certain variables that you might want to be same across all the environments or all the machines. So for that purpose, we have something called environment variables. And Cypress also has the ability to use Cypress environment variables. And there are certain methods to how we set the Cypress environment variables. So in this video we are going to see that how we can use Cypress environment variables, what is the best use of Cypress environment variables. So we are going to see all about that, and yeah, let's get started without wasting much time. So yeah, before we start, to look for what is the best way to use Cypress environment variables, we must be aware about what are the different methods by which we can use or declare Cypress environment variables. So as you can see, we have created or modified this cypress config.js file, and this is the file that is when we set up Cypress for the first time, this is created by default. And yeah, by the way, I have created a video on how to set up Cypress in your machine. If you have not watched that video, and if you are first time viewer for the Cypress or on this channel, consider watching that video, because I have explained a very brief of how to set up Cypress. I might have a link over here in the I button, or I'll make sure to add that video in the video link in the description box. Please do check it out. And now moving on to the method 1 of Cypress environment variable, creating or declaring Cypress environment variable. So that is using this Cypress configuration file. So we can declare environment key, which is nothing but the object, and which stores the certain key values that we can describe it like this. Any other value if we want, we can use comma, and we can declare any other key value pair over here. So all the key value pair that we declare inside this environment object or inside this E2E object, those will be considered as in Cypress environment variable. And remember, regardless the method of way we declare the Cypress environment variable, we can use it like this. So we can use cypress.env, and in brackets we can pass the key for the value that we want to access, right? So that's the simplest way of accessing Cypress environment variable. So this you can write technically in any of your spec files, and the value will remain same. So as you can see over here in cypress.config.js file, we have environment key. Inside we are specifying a key some value which holds the value of Hanil, and we have also this base URL which holds the value of this URL that is nothing but the GitHub page that is hosted on my GitHub profile. So now if you can see, we have created this second lesson.sci.js spec file, and I have created also the doc. Also, I will finish this second lesson.mv file before actually committing and pushing this to my GitHub repository, which you can use, by the way, for your reference if you want to learn Cypress, because I'll make sure to update during this playlist of Cypress that we will be making. Now coming back to the topic, so over here we have side.log, which is printing the some value environment variable, and which should be nothing but this value Hanil over here. And if you see, we are also using this site.visit. You might be asking a question that we are not passing any URL over here for Cypress to visit, right? But remember, we have this base URL mentioned over here, which will be automatically prepended with site.visit. So that is very good about Cypress. And let's say we have certain other pages. So let's say for admin we can use this. So technically it will be prepended by this base URL, and then /admin, so that is nothing but the page that we want to visit. That also we can do, but right now we'll keep it as it is, and we'll see whether the some value is printed perfectly, and we are visiting the Cypress on this particular URL or not. So to do that, we can open, first let me clear the terminal. Now we can open Cypress. As you can see, it opens the launchpad. From here I can choose E2E, I can choose my browser. From here, this is the launchpad. I can open the second lesson.sci.js spec file. And as you can see, both of the test cases are passed, and here if we open this before each, as you can see, we are going to visit this URL that is described over here under the base URL, and that is perfect. And it also logs this some value environment variable, which is nothing but the value which is described over here. So that wraps up the method 1 of how we can use the Cypress environment variables. Now coming on to the second method of declaring the Cypress environment variables. So that is nothing but using this cypress env.json file. Now you might wonder that what is the different, or what is the need of having this separate file for declaring the environment variables. So as you can see, this config.js file, it will be committed to your Git repository. Wherever you are committing, wherever you are storing a remote repository, it will be committed, because that's the config file for Cypress, and that we can't put it inside the git ignore. But let's say we have certain sensitive information for, let's say if we want to perform a login, then we need certain username and password, and that we want to hide it from our GitHub repository, and that we don't want to commit, right? So for that purpose, we can use this file, which is called cypress.env.json, that will be read by Cypress automatically. We don't need to use any extra thing to read this file and to set up this file. We just need to create this cypress.env.json file. So this files, configuring this file, it has one pros compared to this method, which is, let's say if we want that certain value should be different for each environment, that we can do using this cypress.env.json file. Because let's say if I am running this code and I have certain test cases which is performing a login, I want that I will put my credentials over here, login credentials over here. And for somebody else, if they want to run this same piece of code, but they want to perform a login, so they need to put their own login credentials. So for that example, this cypress.env.json file fits the best. And remember, if you add this file, Git will automatically trigger or track this file as in in history. But if you want to not include this inside Git tracking, so what you can do is, inside git ignore you can add this file cypress.env.json, and that will basically ignore this file to be committed in your GitHub repository. And yeah, accessing these variables that you might describe or declare over here, that is nothing, basically just the key value pairs, the same way that we have declared over here in the method 1, right? So all these variable you can access it using this cypress.env, and that is nothing but you can, let's say, just use it like the same way that we did for earlier. We can again see this, and if I'll inspect over here, not page source, so let us inspect, and if you see on the console, so I can run this file again. So as you can see, this handle and this @123, so those are nothing but the some value, then username, password, and another value. So another value is not defined, and the password is handle @123, so that is nothing but the password that we have described in cypress.env.json, right? So yeah, that's the second way of using or describing Cypress environment variables. Now coming on to the third way or third method of using Cypress environment variable, which is mostly used in CI/CD runners, or if we are performing this running this code from any of the virtual machines, where let's say we have certain jobs, certain, let's say, GitHub actions or GitLab CI/CD pipelines, right? So those all things need certain variables. Let's say we have declared this environment.json file, which is not committed inside our GitHub repository. But while we run this and we have this, we will be using this credentials to perform login. Let's say over here I have a code which tests the login functionality and which uses this username and password, which is described in the cypress.env.json file. But yet this file is not committed, right? But over here we are using those variables. So all those variables we can use it to describe it from the bash terminal environment variables. So how we can do is, so you remember that in any of your system, let's say for my I'm inside Mac. So what I can do is, so I have this zshrc file, right? So that file is nothing but it holds all the environment variables that is you can access, right? So what you can do is you can export certain variables prepended with this Cypress underscore thing, right? Because Cypress will not identify any other environment variables if they are not prepended with Cypress underscore, right? So any of the variable that we want to access or that we want to describe it like this, we can describe it in our bash environment, right? And then what we can do is we can source this zshrc, right? And once we write this Cypress another value, it should print this mistry, right? And that you can access same way that we have did for other variables, right? So that's the method 3 of using Cypress environment variables. And remember, this is mostly used in CI/CD pipelines, so that we will see in upcoming videos how to set up CI/CD pipeline for Cypress. So now let's move on to the fourth way of declaring the Cypress environment variable. Now before that, what I would like to do is I would like to close this already running Cypress. So now that we have closed this already running Cypress, already open Cypress, so we'll clear the terminal. And now this is using, so the fourth way of declaring the Cypress environment variable is using the flag that we can use give using the CLI. So while we use Cypress open or Cypress run command from the CLI, what we can do is we can use this -env flag, and we can describe any of the environment variable. So let's say another value which is equals to certain value, and then we can separate multiple environment variable using this comma, and we can open the Cypress like this. And now this will by default set up or override any of the variable that we might have described over here, and that we can verify. So first let's just open the Cypress using this command, and it should replace this another value and some value. So some value is handled over here, but it should be from CLI, right? So that we can verify while we see what is being printed over here, right, in P4H. So first let us open the Cypress test runner, and now we can run the second lesson spec file. All the test cases are passed. Now as you can see, the log of this some value that is printed from CLI over here. So that is nothing but the value that we have given while we ran this Cypress open command using -env flag. So that's the that's the fourth way of using the Cypress environment variable. You can also see this another value being printed on the console. So over here, let me rerun this. So as you can see, it says mistry, so that is the another value, and over here we are also printing some value which is being printed as from CLI. So that is the fourth way of using the Cypress environment variable. Now fifth way of using the Cypress environment variable, which is very simple. So let's say we might require for certain it blocks or certain test cases to have different values. So let's say for this it block we want to have another value to be something different, right? So, or let's say for some value, so some value key that we have described over here, what we want is let's say, so over here we can describe it like this: env and some value is equals some value colon from it block, right? So we can modify it like this, right? So some value for this particular it block, because we are modifying for this it block, and it should be like from it block. So before each also will get changed. So over here the sum value will be from it block, but as we go for this second it block, the before each block it should change the sum value back to the previous sum value that we had given handle, or that we had given using this CLI. So while we ran this using -env flag, we have given this sum value, the key of the sum value would be, the value of this key sum value would be from CLI. So let's just observe that. So first we will clear the console and rerun this file. So as you can see, before each block of the first it block, it says from it block, so that is modified correctly. And over here also it says from it block, so that is nothing but the console.log over here. Then we have username, then we have password, then we have another value, right? Username, password, and another value. And now for this it block, the sum value is from CLI. That is because we gave the -env flag while we had opened this Cypress test runner, right? And over here in the before each block of the second it block, as you can see, it says from CLI. So that is the simply the way of using this fifth way of declaring the Cypress environment variable. We can also put this it block, removing from this to this describe block, and what this will do is this will, let's say, some value to be from describe, right? So that will basically modify some value for entire this spec file. So all of the it blocks, all of the hooks, they will have some value, key value of this key sum value would be from describe. So we will clear this, we will rerun this. So as you can see, from describe, over here also from describe. So that is the way how you can modify and declare the Cypress environment variable. So those were all 5 methods of declaring and accessing Cypress environment variables. So now I have modified this first lesson.sci.js spec file. So as you can see on the screen, so we have modified these 3 lines. I can remove this URL also, right? So because we have mentioned this base URL over here, so that will make sure that we will be landing on the this GitHub page. Now over here, as you can see, we are verifying the title of the app, right? That is Cypress environment variable. That it should be visible and it should have the text welcome to Arista lab requester. Now this is nothing but the element selector, because that is subject of sci.get, and usually the subject of sci.get is nothing but the selector of the element, which will uniquely identify the element from the DOM, right? So that we can declare using the Cypress environment variable over here like this, because that value will not going to be changed for let's say wherever we run this code, from whichever machine we run, from whichever environment, dev environment, prod environment, or let's say we are deploying this, or from wherever we run this, the title of app will not be changed. But let's say while developing or while giving the feature updates for certain application, the title of app will might change the value, so that in that case, wherever we might have declared this title of app variable, we need to go and change through all of those files. Instead of that, what we can do is we can declare this environment variable something like this in this file, and let's say wherever we might modify the id of this title of app from wherever we are getting the element, that we can change just this in single file, and that will make sure that wherever we are using this Cypress environment variable title of app, it will take the value from over here, and that is already changed, right? So that's the best way of using the Cypress environment variable. Also over here, as you can see, version of app, that is nothing but the version of app selector over here, and then we have something called label info, that is also nothing but the selector over here that we have described in this file, right? So now we can go and check. Okay, so we can just rerun this file, and as you can see, all 4 of the test cases are passed and we are good to go, right? So I hope you have got the idea about what are the different ways of using the Cypress environment variable, how we can set and how we can utilize the Cypress environment variable. And I hope you have got the best use case of Cypress environment variables. And yeah, with this, that's it for this video. We'll meet in the next one. Till then, keep learning and keep exploring.